We are moving forward with our agenda at Sigma Technologies corner at Almedalen with theme talks, tech talks that matter. And our next seminar is about very interesting topic. It is a topic connected to resilience, but not maybe the first one that we would think of. We're going to talk about education without pause and how AI and digitalization can strengthen learning in times of crisis. When we talk about resilience and preparedness and security, of course, we talk a lot about energy, we talk about defense, healthcare, transport, cybersecurity, but one very important topic that is a matter of resilience for now and for many years ahead is actually education. What happens when children cannot go to school? What happens if universities cannot continue learning? And what happens if a generation loses access to education in times of crisis? The pandemic showed us how vulnerable we can be. The war that started in Ukraine 2022 showed how this education gets affected in times of war and difficult circumstances. So today we will discuss how we can ensure that education can continue, how we can use AI, digitalization, new technology to support both in times of crisis and also in times of preparedness here in Sweden. And for that we have amazing panel. We have with us Vlora Ramadani. She is president at Sigma Technology North Solutions in Umeå. She is also jury for innovation competition. Is a Sigma Innovation Race for kids in middle school between 10, 12 years old, right?
Fourth to sixth grade.
Fourth to sixth grade. We have with us Max Petzold, Deputy Vice Chancellor at University of Gothenburg. We have with us Denis Volovic from Straff Life Ukraine, Executive President. And Straff Life Ukraine is operating with is it 25,000 kids that you have helped through years?
We can say that it is 30,000 plus because summer is intensive time for us, and the number of kids grew tremendously.
Quite many students and many lessons learned from the times of continuing education. Very warm welcome to us today. So I would like actually to start with you, Max. If we look at Sweden's future resilience and competitiveness, should education be viewed as critical infrastructure in the same way as healthcare and energy is?
Working at the university, for sure, we are very much thinking that we are a crucial part of the long-term planning. And I mean, it has been very obvious the last 1-2 years that we are moving from the Cold War planning, where universities mainly would be shut down, and staff and students would be, used for the military. But nowadays, the kind of order, what you can say, is that you should continue with what you are good at. So teaching, research. Then, of course, we are during peacetime and during times without crisis, we are now much more working towards creating courses that are more relevant and also programs that are more relevant for resilience for the country. So it's not just about war, it's resilience in general. We have everything from water supply to electricity to, real wars, but also long-term political training. To keep a country running from a political point of view is definitely something that we need to develop and learn in a better way. So yes, I very much believe that we are a part of the infrastructure and moving from this closing down to instead developing things, and in times of war that we are starting to be prepared. We are not prepared, I have to admit, but we start to plan for how to run a university during a severe crisis.
I attended another Ukrainian event yesterday, actually, and we talked about the concept of total defense. And amazing asset that Ukrainian colleagues lived during that event was that Sweden has this fantastic asset, time. Time to learn from the learnings from others and prepare us. And I am very happy to hear this, that instead of the strategy of shutting down, we need to continue to do what we are good at. That was very good. And Dennis, over to you. Started in 2022.
Yes.
You experienced something that most educational systems in Europe haven't had to work with before. What have you learned about maintaining education during the time of crisis?
Right. Thank you, Natalie. So yes, indeed, we started in 2022, and Start for Life Ukraine is a foundation that focuses on education primarily. So I would say I like how you phrased it, that during the crisis, many people think that education maybe is not essential, but I want to assure you that it is even more essential than it's during non-crisis times. And when it comes to Ukraine, I think in our situation, it's also, when there is a crisis in the form of war, when the government has humanitarian crisis, the security issues, of course, and then you think, okay, let's pause education because this will help us to save money. But what we learned, it's not about actually saving money, it's about borrowing money from the future generation. And that, for us, was not a situation that we wanted to end up. And I think Start for Life Ukraine, primarily, and like-minded organizations, and also our partners, we, by what we do in Ukraine, we demonstrate that we actually believe in the future, we invest in the future, and that's how it has to keep up. So that would be probably something, the most important lesson we learned from the situation.
Thank you. What would you say surprised you during these years when the program was running and cooperating with the Minister of Education in Ukraine, from students or teachers in how they adapted? Would you like to share that?
Yes, absolutely. I think this is where I can share my personal perspective maybe, because, and I wouldn't say this is a surprise, but of course we had a lot of hypotheses, and we aimed to deliver during the wartime, and we're still aiming to do that, the quality educational content for kids, also support for teachers, and this is very important. But at the same time, we realize that is way beyond the educational content. What we actually gave our beneficiaries is confidence that there are people, organizations, society believes in the future. So when they keep learning, they also have this, I don't know, you call it psychological support maybe, that if society invests in education, so that means there is a future, and that helps, I think, in many different perspectives.
Then you have something certain when everything else is uncertain.
You can say so, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Flora, over to you. Looking from industry perspective, what are the consequences when education systems fail to equip young people with the skills that the society need?
Well, we are lack of people in our industry as we speak. I read somewhere we need within the next year over 100,000 colleagues, and we probably won't be getting them any sooner just by waiting until students come to university. I think learning or coming to our industry or choosing this path starts much earlier. So that's why we try to impact with innovation rates, our competition yearly, because we think that's something somewhere in 4th to 6th grade. That's where we have kids that are very curious, problem solving, collaborating. That's where the real innovation journey starts. So we don't want to kill that. We just want to keep that in mind, that if we also add the perspective of how can we use this in real life, that's when we can keep working with new innovators, our new colleagues in the future.
I really like that, because there has been several studies just looking in that curve in the interest in tech and problem solving, both girls and boys, and there's great interest about 40%, something about that, and then in the age of 10, 12, and after that it starts decreasing. So that's great.
Yeah.
To
So
catch it
what?
up.
Why is that? What happens after fourth and sixth grade? I mean, it must be lack of interest because you can't. You don't see the use of these skills later on, or have something that you can think of as a typical job later on in your life, because it's if we keep just using the school as and just learning theories and not having the way of how can we do this in practice, then that's what it will stop. So innovators or our new colleagues, we need to keep them curious and problem solving and also working together. That's the main key.
And we have even in the audience people who work a lot with this question, where we both need to act and talk about the future of the industry and society quite early. And I was also thinking that often when we talk about the changes in the education system, we of course talk about the government, but how is business innovation dependent on accessible education system?
I think that it's of course completely dependent, because it starts in the education system and it takes so much longer to change that. But the industry is going so much faster, and I think today's teachers don't have the tools and the skills they need for our future colleagues. So definitely.
Indeed. Is it something that you also noticed in university? I mean, the technology and the needs develop so fast. So while the program itself.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, coming from Gothenburg, we work very much with life science industry, where we connect the students early on, having teachers coming from the industry, going to the industry to do write a thesis and such things, and that could be developed in many different branches, of course. But it also includes a lot of digitalization within the life science, of course.
And we think that starts so much earlier, because it's of course needed when you're at the university, and that's why you choose that path. But when you're at young age and still curious and still can use these tools and be an innovator and have people that you look up to. I mean, my kids, for a few years ago, they didn't know what I do for a living, because it's like she goes to work. Yeah, mom has a job. What do we do? Because we need to present that as an option for the future, and that starts so much earlier.
So we both need to act and start early, and then we need to work on the resilience aspect as well, and going back to the aspect of what we've learned both from the times of pandemic, and also I know, Max, that the University of Gothenburg also cooperates with different institutions in Ukraine. What do you think, what lessons learned have you taken at University of Gothenburg and others also need to make?
I've been working with Eastern European countries for the last 20 years in different research projects, and also especially capacity buildings in terms of PhD training, to modernize the PhD training, and in Ukraine especially the Bogomolets Medical University in Kiev. And I was very fascinated. Day 8 after the war started, I had 2 teachers from Bogomolets in my house in Sweden that had fled. And they were up running, teaching day 8. I mean, they came in the evening, day 7, and were up running, teaching. People were, I saw on the screens, the students were sitting in shelters, in subways, whatever. But they did the teaching. So.
I mean, that we can compare that to the pandemic, where we have a whole generation that were studying from home. Never tried that. did that for a few years, and just to keep the education ongoing, it's not always that's needed a classroom. The education can continue.
And sometimes I think about if the pandemic wouldn't have happened or happened after the war. I mean, the preparedness was tremendously much better thanks to the pandemic in a way. And I also think we are quite prepared from a digital point of view in Sweden to run. It's more a mental problem, and the other is of course electricity, that Ukraine is much more developed, I would say, in terms of having alternative supplies of electricity. In Sweden, if the major cables are cut, whatever, we would run out of electricity. So I mean, the digitalization is of course super important, and we are working quite intensively on that. But then we need all the supply systems, of course, which I think was better in Ukraine because of the small power supplies.
Right.
Dennis, would you like to comment here, both from the topic of preparedness with the energy supplies, as Max mentioned, but what has also been vital to roll out fast?
Well, I would say, first of all, I do agree with Max what you say about the energy supply. Hopefully, when the war ends in Ukraine, we will have the same capacity as it was before, because we all know what the Russians are targeting specifically. So I agree that's very important. But I think also agree that the pandemic that happened earlier and which led it to digitalization is pretty much what helped Ukraine to sustain the education alive, because students were prepared to that situation. Of course, there are a lot of challenges, and there happen challenges, but I think digitalization played the key role in education in Ukraine as well.
Laura, would you like to comment on?
Yeah, I actually came to Sweden in '92, the war in Kosovo, and thinking of that, I mean, my parents with 6 kids left Kosovo for Sweden, and the main reason was the education, giving us a chance to go to school because they shut down the schools. So there was no digital ways of learning at that time in '92. So I just something that I'm thinking of as we are so much ahead, and we can keep learning, and we can use tools and digitalization today that we didn't have earlier, but still the same eager to learn and to have the opportunity to go to school. That's a really big issue for people, for us.
And so we talk now about the preparedness. We talk about the importance of the digitalization is important, and we're on a good way. We talk about learning from having the diversification in questions of energy supply, and also all the infrastructure needed to be able to roll out quickly, and what we can learn from, for example, Ukraine that's been facing with that. We also talk about, in a way, everything that comes in our way is making us stronger, both the pandemic and the crisis. Yeah, I would like to switch a little bit to the topic of AI, of course. We cannot be here in 2026 and not talk about AI. And oftentimes when we talk about AI in Sweden, we talk about whether students should use it or not use it, or how we can define that. I would like to ask you, Max, when you have those discussions at university, what are the most important aspects when we talk about AI and education, now and in the future?
I mean, a couple of years ago, it was people were scared, and there was a lot about, I mean, whatever, how to avoid, more or less. But nowadays, it's really how to utilize it as much as possible. I mean, there are so many different AI tools, AI-based tools, so currently it's mainly how to separate education from research in point of use of AI. I mean, what could be thought to be some substandards, so utilizing AI in teaching, and where you should learn how to think critically and learn new ways of thinking and doing things. And if you just use AI, of course, we miss some aspects of that training. But at the same time, you also need to learn using AI as much as possible, because in the research then, in one way you could say that, okay, if we have new antibiotics coming out using AI and it works, what is the problem? So what we are challenged with is that, really to say that, okay, we have done the training with you, on a bachelor level or master level or PhD level. So you learn how to think critically and also ethically and all these aspects. At the same time, utilizing AI as much as possible. So it's really a hard balance. And I guess that in 5 years' time or 2 years' time, we have rethought even more what is really the content of teaching. But we need, like you talked about earlier, we need curiosity and all this, which I think could be killed if you leave too much to AI.
What do you think should be done to keep that balance?
That's
That's
if I knew, I wouldn't be sitting here, then I would have been implementing. It's always a matter of, the teachers are much older than the students, okay, that's obvious. So it's very much about training, retraining the teachers also. So both at university level and then changing the curriculums at the School of Pedagogics in University of Gothenburg as the largest teacher program in Sweden. So we are definitely responsible for a lot of teachers coming out being prepared to work with AI tools. We are not there fully yet, I would say, but now it's definitely in a positive way that it's developing. And we need the industrial contact, of course, because we will never be able to build up all these technologies. We will not be able to have the computing and all this. We should use our money to teach students and PhD students. So we shouldn't invest in big computer halls or whatever. So, but we need the capacity.
Flora, would you like to come in here? I think about both the aspects of cooperation with industry and university schools, but I also think in the innovation race, when you meet students when they are in 4th, 6th grade, 10, 12-year-olds, can you see that AI change somehow how they approach problem solving, or is it not that distinct at that time? Any thoughts on
well,
that?
we have seen a clear shift. Kids today use tools not they find information so much faster than we used to. They don't just Google stuff nowadays. They can use AI and they're really fond of it. But I also we can see that they're also much better at solving problems, at using tools for real engagements. But we need to present it that way. Our competition with Innovation Race gives them the chance to use. They don't see when they read the competition. They don't see it as what's possible. They see it what if. So they usually can think more outside the box and just be able to use their curiosity and work together. So that means real engagements and real life. Like if one of the competitions was your nearest. I think that one of the first one was it about
cities.
Yeah, your cities and the way that the kids had presented was like, okay, when I cross the road, we need to think of that in a different way. Like it's dangerous to cross the road. So how can we use technology to make the cars stop earlier? Like put up stuff that come up from the ground, or the innovation were their way of thinking is so impressive, and we can't kill curiosity. We have to give them a chance to develop that, and that's when they see that it's possible, because we choose a winner by the end of the competition, and that's we look at it. Is it possible to do? But I mean, we are. The whole jury is grown-up people, so we're not as innovative as the kids are. Yeah, well, that's a big challenge. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So we need to keep on that innovation and foster the way that we use tools to solve problems and to validate ideas.
But also collaborate with each other, because I think AI will continue develop and we will use it as a tool, but I think somewhere on the way we need to know what our role is. I mean we need to be efficient, but that doesn't mean that we leave it to the AI to decide what's okay or good enough, because we need to have to be sort of a controller, and if we look at AI as a tool and not the final decision on what we will develop, then we're still in control. And I think that's and also if we collaborate with each other, that gives us a bigger chance on being in front and the driver.
And thank you, Dennis. And I also think when we talk about Ukraine again and the situation when teachers are disrupted, maybe not directly can continue learning, what role does AI and digitalization play in those situations?
So when it comes to AI, I hear a lot of this statements that AI will replace, I don't know, lawyers or I don't know, drivers maybe, or anyone. So we never believe that AI will replace a teacher. And for us, the question was how we can use AI to support the teacher who actually has to work with, let's say, 100 kids. And before the war, those 100 kids, they had like maybe 10 teachers. So for us was about that, how to support the teacher so one person can still handle his or her work with the 100 kids. And so the answer we found is actually positive. It is possible, and we see it in the practical realities. But from our perspective, and that's what I heard from Max and you guys, I mean from the technology, is that very important that those AI tools are developed around the person, around the teacher. So when it is designed so, then we have a very strong tool in education that can be used. But again, we don't probably have an answer yet. And that's why it's important to have this collaboration between academia and the industry, and also the practitioners, to find the answer that I think no one knows yet.
Very good.
I think a good example is using or not using calculator when the calculator was invented. Today you use it in tests, but you have to also explain how you come up with the
Absolutely.
answer. So that's where the teaching happens.
Very good. We're coming up to closing our panel. I would summarize shortly what we talked about. We talked about education. In times of crisis, we talked about education being an important part of resilience, total defense. We talked about the strategy that we not talk about the stuff, but that we, in times of crisis, but that we continue to do what we are good at. We talked about the importance of lessons learned and knowledge sharing between academia, industry, also international cooperation, so that we can learn from the lessons. We talked about the important balance that we need to establish when we need both to educate kids and students and adults about ethical aspects, of course, of AI and critical thinking and creativity, and at the same time see it as a way for us to strengthen up innovation and speed up the time of new development and new research, finding that balance. And finally, we talked about that an important way for us is also to equip teachers and educators when AI becomes a tool that helps them to scale more, especially when we need to work in a disruptive environment. I'd like to give you just one, one word that you would like to say about what we need to focus on to build more resilient education system on today. Max, one word from you.
What we would need is that the authorities clarify the independence of the universities during crisis. Can we keep our teachers? Can we keep the students? Can we keep the money? I mean, if we, yeah. So giving the structure for us to work if we run into some kind of war or other crisis.
Structure independence for universities. Laura, one word from you.
I would say collaboration between the industry, the schools, and also allowing the industry to be a part of the schools in early stage.
Great, thank you. Dennis?
I'm not sure I can say it in one word, but I will tell you that I hear a lot when we're talking about resilience, about security issues, energy, just name it, but I rarely hear the education together with resilience. So I'm very happy to have this discussion with you guys. But I think for the Sweden and country which are not in the war, I think it's very important to build that resilience education phrase and keep investing in that. Because I read somewhere that if you don't do it, so this becomes in the future long-term security vulnerability. So like for the Swedish society, for example, I would say, guys, learn it this way you have, not the hard way like we learned it in Ukraine. So that would be my answer.
That's great closing word. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Great job, man.